after some developers or database administrators make mistakes when inserting or updating data, one of the things that I'll say is it only takes one mistake to start thinking about minimizing errors or minimizing mistakes from happening again. And the reason why I bring this up is it hit me today while I was inserting data for one of our important client tables, is that we one of our departments double inserted some data, and they didn't have any error check to ensure that they didn't do a double insert. And I've seen this before in numerous companies where duplicates appear because there's no error check, or someone accidentally forgets something in a where clause and updates 700 rows of data or 300 rows of data or 2,400 rows of data because their where clause was incomplete. And so I'm going to discuss basically today just some of the basics of error check. So, and I'm going to do this from start to finish. I don't know what tables I have in here. So, whoops. Okay, so private 4. Okay, select start from private 2. Okay, so let's suppose that, and this is good because this will be pretty simple. Let's suppose that I want to update the table private 2. You can see the data below, and I want to set the sentiment equal to 0, where private 2 ID equals 3. So I'm going to set this value right here equal to 0. Now, you would not believe how many times I've seen someone run an update script, and their update script, I'm going to put this over here for reference, their update script wipes out all, in this case would be just all 4 rows, and sets them equal to 0. So in other words, they accidentally forget to run it with the where clause. Okay. So one of the things we can do is we can start all of our transactions with begin tran. So if I sit there and I run this now, and then I go to, let's do this. Let's see if this works. I'm going to open up a new query, and you'll notice I can't get to the table. And the reason why I can't get to the table is because even though I opened a transaction here, a begin tran, I have not committed or rolled the transaction back. So this is just keep searching and waiting, right? Now if I go select from private 2 with no lock, I think I can do that in 2008. Hold on. No, first of all, stop. And now do this. You can see with no lock. It did that, but if I do this, so it hasn't committed it yet, so that was a dirty read. Currently, okay, stop and close this. Okay, so the begin tran, technically in this case, I could look and see my update, right? I'm in the same transaction, I just ran the update. I could look and say, okay, yeah, that's right. And then I could do, for instance, a commit tran, run just this statement right here, highlight this and run this, okay? Which I'm not going to do in this case, but I'm going to roll it back. This is how you basically cancel a transaction, because if we go back and we look at the table, it's still 30. Okay, so we want to minimize, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we're only updating, since we're updating one row of data, private ID equals C, we want to make sure that we're only updating that one row of data. If we were updating where an ID equals 3 and there were multiple IDs with 3, then we would want to make sure we're updating those multiple rows. So instead of updating like just this flat out update script, let's go ahead and put an if statement here, and let's say where if the row count does not equal 1, then we'll begin, and let's roll back the transaction. So we're going to end the transaction. So the idea is it's going to begin, it's going to update. If it doesn't equal 1, if for whatever reason we forgot this where clause, it would roll it back because it's not going to, it would basically update all 4 of these. But since that's not equal to 1, it would roll it back. And then we can do else begin and commit tran. And I'm not going to get deep into this. You can make these things, much more complicated than they should be. But I will go ahead and take the next step in terms of safely updating data. So another thing that we can do, this right here, if I see a script like this, I know that the person who updated the table or inserted, by the way, an insert's the same thing. If we only want to insert one row of data, if it's not equal to 1, don't do it. If we want to delete, if it's not equal to 1, let's say we're deleting one row, if it's not equal to 1, don't delete it. If I see a script like this, I know that the person I'm working with is more cautious. And again, like I said, you would not believe how many times I've seen insert, update, delete. No protections built in at all. Just none. So then other ways we can do as well, and we could declare a variable that counts the number of rows that we want to update, right? We could say declare just say declare count, I guess, as int, and then we could do select count equal to, hold on, we're going to say sentiment where private to ID equals 3. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. From private to, from the table. That's one thing we could do. Let's see, and then we can do select count. So right off the bat, we could do this. Okay, so it should, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Select count star. Wrong one. That is the, there is a value of that. That is correct as far as 30, but there's one row, right? And then we could say if row count doesn't equal count, oops, then it would roll it back. This would be very useful if we're updating 40 rows of data. We could basically automate that. We don't have to manually enter it in. The other thing as well, and this is the big key that I would say, and this is the one that I came across today. We had several duplicates, or triplicates, I guess, of data in a table because someone kept running the script over and over and over again, even though there was this error clause built in. And so the result was we had multiple values, the exact same data. So I'll address that. So this one would be more of an insert. So let me go back to the table really quickly and just verify the value. So it's 30 update. Okay, so we're going to do an insert into, and this is going to be private to, and I think the ID auto increments. I guess we'll see. And I also think that the get date auto increments. But if it doesn't, we'll find out. So let's do 37. Okay, that. Okay, so we're just going to do it in this case where we're going to insert one value. And again, I think that these two values, it's been a while since I've looked at this, but I think these two auto, so basically it's an automatic get date, a default value on the table, and then an auto ID. Okay, so in this case, my check is, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to declare count as an int, and I am going to select count equal to count star from private to where, and notice we're inserting sentiment equals 37. And we also know that since it's going to be an ID, this is another thing I need to put, I'll put and here. It's going to be an auto increment, or it should be, private to ID equals 5. So the reason why I'm doing this here, or what I'm doing here I should say, is, and this would have helped our QA department today, is that they kept inserting the same value multiple times. Well, once it's inserted, that's all it needs. So now we have to go get rid of all the extra data that don't need to be there. So we have this count here, and it's saying a count star. So for instance, if we selected that right now, it should return 0, right? Because there's no rows of data that are like that. on 0, right? Okay, so we have select count. So now we can put our if statement. If the count equals 0, begin, do our insert, and then end. And let me verify that this works. There might be something I'm missing here. I just want to verify. So it should return a let's check the table first. Yeah, okay. So we should return a 0, and we should see one row affected. Now if I go back, so it should have inserted the sentiment 37. Private ID is, like I said, an auto increment. Let's check our table. This will verify what it is. Okay, so sentiment data is not auto, but this is. You'll see 5 and 37. So now if we look at the count here, it's 1. And this would have helped out our QA department because they kept inserting in. Well, this if the count would have been 1, so it would not have done this insert again. And you can test it out by doing this. You'll see the value is 1. Notice one row is affected. That's just this right here. But it did not reinsert another value. If we look at the table, there's still that one value, 5. So those are some examples. Like I said, it can get pretty complicated. You can raise an error. You can alert the user. But these are ways in which you can minimize your errors when it comes to SQL Server and when it comes to inserting, updating, or deleting data. These are also ways that, like I said, when working with individuals like this, you know these individuals are trying to avoid errors. It's a difference with someone just typing out an update script, updating a bunch of data, and then saying, oh, oops, I updated 4,000 rows of data. I only was trying to update 2. And that becomes much more difficult, especially if you're a database administrator, because then you have to go through those transaction logs and recover from a point in time, and that can be a headache. So especially if you're a developer, make sure your scripts are high quality like this, because number one, it will minimize your error. It raises your consciousness and the fact that you're actively thinking about what you're doing. You're not just automatically doing it. That's where most mistakes originate. You think, oh, I can do this. This is easy. And then boom, you accidentally do something. And then, like I always tell people, is always do a begin tran and have a rollback tran handy. And in fact, I usually have at the very beginning of my file an extra begin tran that I manually execute. Then I do my script. I check to see if the update's there, and then I commit the transaction. This is automated, and these automated scripts are usually for people who are like, well, I just want to do it in 5 minutes. Or, I'm sorry, less than 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, being precise matters. But this is a way that you can significantly reduce the amount of errors in updating, deleting, and inserting.